3D audio is going to be
Sony has
changing the
had
world
a
of
new generation.
I'm pretty sure Tecmo Bowl has a speed run.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to this week's Most Elite Podcast. Now, I recorded this podcast days ago. I recorded a podcast for Resident Evil 4 Remake when the first trailer was released. But it was like 3 a.m., and there was construction going on outside. And I was really tired. And it was like train tracks being fixed. I mean, it's construction always going on. So even in this one, you might get some. But for the most part, we're good. So I recorded a Resident Evil 4 podcast talking about the remake and how I was going to wait for the 13th, which is long past, and wait for Capcom to show gameplay because I knew they would. They did, in quotes. And all it does is it gives us a close-up of Leon in the car. It gives us a close-up of Leon entering the first house from 4, where he shows the guy the picture to Ashley. We don't see him do that, but we do know that that's what that scene is. It tells us that scene has been changed from daytime, prominently lit, to nighttime with lanterns for a more spooky vibe, which I'm unsure of that. I mean, I don't get that change. He showed up during the daytime. I feel like for making it daytime showed you that the horror wasn't just lurking at night. You weren't running through a city at night from creatures that could dismember you. You were running through a village in the open day from people with weapons. And that switch helped lend terror to, because 4, it stands out. It's not like the other games. It changed horror games. It didn't just change Resident Evil, it changed horror games for the better. And so it's weird for them to show that scene and it be nighttime. I think that's weird. Even in the car where we see Leon with the classic hand in the head pose that he has when he's talking to the 2 police officers with him. It's dark. It's night. Not sure why it's night there. And I mean, who knows? It's probably a good reason. But I do think that the original 4 having it be day there helped sell that not only was this different, we got the over-the-shoulder camera and there's no zombies, but it's also pretty much daytime the whole game until the second half of the game. Then it's perpetual night until the very end. So that's the only thing in the trailer that I thought was weird. And I was like, well, I was going to wait for gameplay and upload that original podcast. I went back and listened to it. It's just so late and I'm so tired. It just doesn't sound as good. Now, I have uploaded ones like that before where I just felt like I had to get something out. But I feel Resident Evil 4 deserves a little more respect than that. So I'm coming back many, many days later with the Resident Evil 4 podcast. I'm pretty much going to say the same stuff I said in the other one, with the added information of the new trailer. The new trailer, it didn't really show much, so I didn't feel the need to include it in. Right now, you're just looking at the State of Play trailer. I didn't feel the need to include the new trailer because it doesn't show anything. It shows Leon aiming his gun over the camera, no HUD, so it feels immersive. But I presume it'll look like the HUD from 2 and 3 remake. It shows him entering the house. It shows him sitting in the car. It shows a close-up of him in the village after the siege. There's a siege in the beginning of 4, which I always thought was cool because for the speed run, you can skip the siege entirely if you know how to do it. I showed it off in my podcast, my Let's Play of 4. If you go back and watch that episode, you'll see me attempt to skip the siege. I fail, but you can skip the siege, which I always thought was cool. 8 introduced a siege, which you can't skip. Now, as a way to make it go much faster for speedrunners, but you can't skip it. So much so that the new category in Resident Evil 8 speedrun is no intro, which pretty much just starts you at the castle, which is pretty cool. So yeah, they show him off in the siege. They show him off in the siege part, like before the siege is, I guess when the siege is over and he talks to Hunnigan. They haven't shown Hunnigan yet, but I mean she's his contact in the game, so she has to be in the game. They haven't shown Salazar, They haven't shown Mendez up close. He appears as a flash for a moment in the trailer. They show Ada for a moment. They show Leon on the boat after he fights the giant fish. They don't really show much. They show off the cultist. They show off the Ganados. And that's about it. They don't show much more than the State of Play trailer showed, which is fine. It comes out in March next year. There's a loud truck or something outside. I apologize if you hear it. No matter when I record, that's just what's going to be happening. Again, it comes out in March next year. It's June, right? They don't have to show so much. Not only do they not have to show so much, it's not like they're keeping anything from us. We know what happens in 4. Now, will it be remade and rethought like Remake 2? Sure. And it's 4 as different as 2 was. It hit all the same story beats as OG 2. I assume 4 will be the same. It'll be different in the ways like I explained earlier, like the switch from day to night and that very opening sequence and things like that. Maybe playing as Ashley outside. There's a sequence of her running away outside. You don't really play as her outside. You play as her in a couple of sections in the game. And it's always confined to running and hiding and solving puzzles, and then you meet back up with Leon. So playing as her outside, but it'll probably still hit all the exact same story beats. So it doesn't actually matter if they change minor details like that, like in OG2 and to Remake 2 and OG3 to Remake 3, in which they changed a lot of details. So much so that it felt like a completely different game in certain aspects. Again, I apologize about the construction outside. I thought I could sneak one. It's really early. Like, it's early, and I still can't sneak one by it. No matter when the last podcast, as I said before, the last podcast I did this, it was 3 a.m. Just buzzsaws outside, just over and over, and I'm like, come on, guys. So, yeah. A thing I wanted to mention is, in the trailer, Leon says, if I could just forget about that night, the pain of it. What I thought was interesting about that line is the final song, if you beat the B scenario, the true ending, with Leon, you get Saudade. And the lyric of that song is, the pain of it never ends. And I thought it's interesting that Leon would say that Leon is still in pain from that night all those years ago. I mean, because 2 takes place in 1999, right? And in 4 is 2005. It's been many years, and he just still... I mean, something like that would scar you forever, wouldn't it? Right? So I always thought... Here's what I think. I think they'll interplay Leon's feelings from that night. They'll play that up more than original 4 did. Original 4, I feel like he mentioned it one time. When him and Luis were tied up by Mendez after being knocked out in the house, and they wake up in their little hut and they're sharing stories, and Leon's like, I got caught up in the Raccoon City incident on my first day on the job. And Luis is like, I thought I was bad, right? That's the only time he mentions it. Like, that Leon, he's past it. He's become this hardened monster killer. And while he's not exactly stoic, he's not like he was in 2, even Ode 2. In Ode 2, he was, he was headstrong because he found himself in a situation and he had to get out of it. But he was still scared. Like, Remake 2 did a good job of showing that side of him without making him a coward. As you play, he does things like, come on, you got this. Like, he's talking himself into it as you play. And when he sees things that are unnerving, he's like, what in God's name? Because he's never seen anything like that. New Leon in OG4, he's seen it all and done it all by this point. He's worked with Krauser. He's worked for the American military. He's worked for secret branches of the military to deal with bioterrorism. He's fought monsters. So, he's not afraid. So, we'll see how they treat Remake continuity Leon. Just having him say that one line already says to me that, yes, he's fought monsters and he's probably done it all. But that the humanity side of it isn't lost. He's not just super action man like he is in Ode 4, because he's just action man in Ode 4, which is cool. That sells. But it's nice to see that. I'm excited to see the sort of one-off lines they give him and Ashley as you play. Maybe he'll say stuff like "just like before" or something like that, right? I think that's a good line to put him on. To show his progression from naive rookie cop to badass monster killer. Because in OG4, by the time we meet Leon again, he's a badass monster killer. He is fearless. He has a job, and he's going to do it, no matter what. Even when it looks like he's going to die, He's just, if I gotta die here, I'm gonna die here, but I'm gonna do the job. So I'm excited to see new Leon's progression from that horror of Raccoon City to the island, and I'm excited to see what the writers do with him. So without changing him too much, because he's an established character already with tons of books and movies and stuff. We know Leon, we know Chris, we know Claire, we know all these characters in and out by now. So it's very exciting stuff. What they did also announce, which is honorable mention, DLC for Resident Evil 8, which gives you the third-person camera perspective, which modders had long put in the game before, and Capcom was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So they took it and they put it in the game, which is fine. And DLC, actual DLC to the game, which is you play as Rosemary Winters, Ethan's daughter, 16 years after the events of 8. So Chris would be, 73, 70, something like that. 16 years after the events of 8. And she enters the subconscious mind of the remaining piece of Mega Mycete that Chris blew up at the end of 8, and is on a hunt for answers as to how to remove her powers. I guess she wants to be normal. I truly don't believe. My theory is she will not remove her powers, but she'll gain a better understanding of them and have full control of them, to the point that she may even be able to resurrect her father. That's what I believe will happen in the DLC. I think it's DLC 1 of many. 7 had so many DLCs, so it would not surprise me if 8 gets tons of DLCs, because Capcom likes to support their games years after release. Their new games, OG 2, you're thinking, Remake 2, you're probably thinking, hey, what the heck? It didn't get that many DLCs. You're right, it didn't. It doesn't have to. It already existed. But their new games, they always release tons of DLC. Look no further than 7 or Monster Hunter. It's just tons of DLC for their new games. So I'm not worried in the slightest that we'll get tons of DLC for 8. Hell, they're adding Heisenberg, Chris, and Lady Dimitrescu to the Mercenaries minigame in 8, which is exciting. I can't wait to be Heisenberg, use my hammer, be Lady D, use my claws, Chris even. So that's very exciting, because when 8 came out, and I did the Mercenaries to get the lightsaber. There's a secret lightsaber weapon. If you get an S rank on all the missions, which is really hard and really rewarding if you can go and do it. Watch videos on YouTube of how to do it and just do it, but you get the lightsaber and it's great. When I was playing, I was like, I wish I could play as more than Ethan, because all the other Mercenary games, there are multiple characters and they have different weapons and stuff, and it changes the experience. So it's very exciting that they're adding different characters. But that's my thoughts on Resident Evil 4 Remake. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and hit subscribe for me if you want. As always, we'll see you again next time, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.